Hey everybody, it is Lisa Nearing from True North Homeschool Academy, and I am here once again with another episode of Life Skills 101, Life Skills for a Digital Age. I am super excited to be talking to you about this topic today because it is a question that I get over and over and over again. And it kind of goes like this. I have a 11-year-old to 18-year-old, usually a boy, who has been so fun to homeschool. He's always been so compliant. He's just such an amazing young man. And all of a sudden, he's a little bit like cantankerous. Like he doesn't want to just hang out with us anymore. He doesn't want to do his schoolwork. He's just kind of gripey at the little kids. He's a little bit more argumentative than he's ever been in his whole life. What on earth is going on? I have a good idea of what's going on. I'd love to tell you about it. It has to do with a principle that I've talked about over and over again, and that has to do with the Goldilocks Principle. I wrote a blog post on it. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, so be sure you go and check out the show notes. What is the Goldilocks Principle? It has to do with motivational psychology. The Goldilocks Principle says this: to really motivate people, you need to give their brain something new to grab a hold of, not too hard, not too easy, but just right. And what does just right look like? It looks like one step over what comes easy or naturally. That means there's got to be a little bit of a challenge. There has to be some pushback. That's the Goldilocks principle. And it's a really important educational principle to get a hold of, especially as a homeschooling mom. Why? Because we're with our kids all day long, and we know that it can be really challenging to motivate people. If we understand the Goldilocks principle, we're one step ahead of understanding how to really motivate our kids. For young men in particular, tweens and teens, they're really looking at something more challenging than hanging out with mommy and the little kids. And there's nothing wrong with hanging out with mommy and the little kids. Home is where the heart is. Home is where God places the lonely and families, right? So there's nothing wrong with home, but young men really want to know how they measure up in life. They're looking for a challenge. They're looking for some pushback. I say this, I tell this little vignette all the time when I'm speaking. When my second son, my fourth child, was like 15 or 16, he started doing Taekwondo. Now, his dad did Taekwondo in high school and college, and he was able to find another Christian Taekwondo instructor. And my husband's also like fairly athletic, and he still jogs, and he is just like in great shape. So when my then 15-year-old was doing Taekwondo, he'd been doing it for about a year. He was like a brown belt, and he decided one day that he was going to challenge dad to a duel in the front yard. So they go out there and they're sparring and they're going after each other. And pretty soon, bammo, my son's flat on the ground. He starts laughing. My husband holds a hand out, pulls him back up. They're going after it again. They're sparring. Bammo, my son's flat on the ground. They do this for like 20 minutes. No kidding. My son comes in. They are sweating. He comes in. He's got grass all over him. He's got dirt all over him. He is laughing. That was the best time I've had in so long. Oh my gosh, dad is fast. Well, I'm going to really have to work hard to be able to get him. Well, what did that do? They were out there having a great time. My son was really assessing how he measured up as a man. That's what young men want. They want to go after something, and they want to get pushed back against. And look, the deal is, young men probably know that mom's not the best person to push on because mom's got a lot on her plate. And at a certain point, our young men can push us over, right? And we have mama hearts. And so we might actually be pushovers. But dads are a different breed. And a young man can go after a dad, and a dad might just spar with him a little bit. Knock around like figuratively, not like abusively or anything, but just, hey, go, just, you got to push harder, son. You got to work out harder. You got to know a little bit more. You got to be a little faster. You got to have some years of experience under your belt. Because my husband is like, we are not spring chickens. We're getting older. It's not like he's so young. It's just he has years of experience under his belt of watching people move, understanding how people defend themselves, years of building his own physical strength. And so that is what young men are needing. And if they get a little cantankerous at home, it's because they need to push back on something and they need to know that they're not all that. Or they have to like practice a little bit more, or they have to work out a little bit harder, or maybe they are all that and they actually know stuff. That's pretty exciting. That's really motivating. And if they can go out into the world a little bit and find out that they know stuff and they're competent, that's really motivational, right? That's really like, that can get you really fired up to get to the next level. But if it's only mommy feedback, it might be demotivating to our young adults. And so as your kids get older, I really want to encourage you, get them into some kind of competition, a competitive sport, an academic competition of some sort, a team where they can really like see what they're made of, what they need to do, what they need to practice harder. Or, you know, even have them take a class that's graded and assessed by someone other than yourself, like where there's real assignments due at a real deadline and there's actual fallout or consequences for not getting the work done on time. And I know as somebody who's homeschooled for a very long time with our older kids, I really kind of bought into the myth that, you know, grades and assessments weren't really that important. And as I've gotten older and as I've homeschooled and as I've worked with other homeschoolers and as I know more about education and motivational psychology, I really don't agree with that anymore. I think assessments are really useful tools and we have to look at them as tools and use them as tools. Don't use them as something to condemn the student with. I mean, I think I grew up with that kind of mentality. Like you were going to take a standardized test and you were going to really know if you were worth anything or not by the score that you got, by the college that you got into. And I think that's a very limited use of assessments. And assessments can be really helpful tools for the homeschool family, for the homeschool parent, for the homeschool student, to see how they measure up, where they stand, if they're really like in the camp they thought they were in, or if they have to do some more work and what that work looks like. So I would say as your kids get older, especially as they start moving towards launching, as they start moving towards going on to college, university, moving out on their own, going into an internship or VOTEC school or wherever it is that they're going to go after high school, after they leave your home, as they move towards that, help them get into some kind of activities or classes or dual enrollment, again, where the expectations are laid out clearly so they know what to do. That they can get it done in a timely manner and that they have consequences for not doing it in a timely manner and that they have an assessment at the end. That might be a grade, it might be a narrative assessment or whatever, but it probably should be done by somebody other than mom. This is one of the things that we do really well at True North Homeschool Academy. We have a syllabus for the kids at the beginning of the class, so they know exactly what's expected for the class. They know how to turn the things in. They have timed assignments, so they have a certain amount of time to turn it in, and then they're graded. And the grades are fair, and there's a way for them to retrench if they need to. But it's not just like you are so wonderful and we love you. And although we do love our students, let me just put that disclaimer out there. But they might have to do extra work, or they might have to do more challenging work than they're used to. That's really good for them. That's really good for our kids. We want kids who can compete in the marketplace and compete in the world. The other thing I would say too is as our kids get older, we, as all of us who are adults, we know that we're often put into situations where we don't know what we're going to be graded on, right? Anybody else besides just me, where you're thrown into a certain situation in life and you know you're going to get assessed and evaluated, but you're really not sure what the criteria is and you just have to like wing it and figure it out and go for it. That's kind of like adulthood, that's marriage, that might even be parenting, that's homeschooling, that's a lot of our jobs where we just start it and then we like hang on for the ride and we figure it out as we go. And I would say, you know, as homeschoolers, we don't necessarily want our kids to be in that school of hard knocks where they just get thrown into the deep end and good luck to you. But I will tell you this, my dad taught me and my sisters to swim at a very, very young age. I think I was 3. And my grandparents had a cottage on a lake. And my dad took us out into the water and he held us and then he let go. I think I was literally 3. And I'm not traumatized by that. I loved the water. I was a lifeguard for years, all through high school and college, and a water safety instructor for years. I was on swim teams for years. So I wasn't traumatized by that. He wasn't far away and he didn't let us, sink to the point of drowning or anything like that. But we learned to swim quickly. And that kind of parenting is really, seen in a bad light. I'm not suggesting that for your own kids. I'm just saying that that parenting technique of you're going to sink or swim, that is life. And a lot of us have done that as adults, is that we've just gone out in the world and we figured it out. And we might not want our kids to have that kind of harsh reality. But I am saying that you need to allow your kids some pushback from reality to help them become the young men and women that they need to be. So if your kids are struggling all of a sudden with obedience or being content with being home or just doing the same old, when they have been really content with it for a while, but all of a sudden they're just like, they're just wrestling, they're struggling, they're cantankerous and argumentative. It might be time for some competition in their life. It might be time for them to get into class with one of our harder professors like Adam Pruzan or Dr. Kristen Moon, who are going to be like, come on in. We're going to be kind. We're going to teach you so much. It's going to be the best year of your life as far as biology goes, or world history, or understanding politics, or the founding fathers. This is going to be your best year. But you're going to have to work hard. And that might be the best thing you can do for them. So I'm going to link the article, the Goldilocks Principle. Go check it out. I'd love to hear your feedback about this podcast. If you have any questions or thoughts about it, I'd love to hear what you think about assessments and pushing our kids a little bit further. This is Lisa Nearing for True North Homeschool Academy and Life Skills 101, Life Skills for a Digital Age.